Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to our first house call of the weekend on the Cabral Concept. Each and every Saturday and Sunday, we bring you our community's questions each and every week. Really excited because I get to see what 12 to maybe even 20 people are asking, what they're thinking about, what's going on with their health. And I really believe that as a community, the more we hear about all sorts of different health issues, and we begin to understand that we could have thousands of representations of poor health as symptoms in our body, it can come down to the crucial dozen factors which go back to the de-stress protocol and really looking at what are those underlying root causes. So that's why, again, I just believe that with enough repetition, we are able to start to become the own healer in our own home, and that we're able to pass this information on to others. So really appreciate you tuning in each and every weekend, listening to what the community has to say, what their questions are, what they need help with. And without further ado, we're going to dive right into the show. Really looking forward to answering a lot of questions today, so I will do my best. All right, Missy's up first. She says, hi, I'm a 43-year-old mom to 5 biological. My gynecologist said I'm in perimenopause with symptoms of weight gain, low libido, cystic acne in my chin, emotional, depressed, high anxiety at times, difficulty sleeping, hair thinning. My periods are regular every 23 to 25 days. They start as spotting, then get more heavy. So she goes on to give some of her labs, which I'm not going to read right now because, again, the house calls are not for me to run labs and read labs. I'm not able to do that on a podcast. That's not ethical and certainly not fair to all of our private health clients as well. But she goes on to say that over the past few years, I've had some random rashes and hives. My chiropractor has been helping me with some constipation. They're having me do the standard process intestinal cleanse. I did the faster way to fat loss program. Still, the constipation is getting worse. I exercise 4 to 5 times a day. I'm dealing with bloating. Could this be hormone issue and GI or the same issue giving me all of these symptoms? What would you recommend I do at this point? Because there seems to be so much going on. I truly feel like I'm all over the place and doctors just say it's a normal phase of life and keep eating healthy and exercising. I'm really at a loss. Any help would be appreciated. Missy, happy to help here. I can't recommend enough running those at-home lab tests, right? So if you really want the best ability for any naturopathic doctor, integrative health practitioner, level 2, or functional medicine practitioner, they have to go by the labs. I mean, they really do. And so what we would ask you is during your worst symptom period of time is that you run those big 5s. And the reason is we want to look at your hormones, we want to look at your stress levels. We also want to look at your inflammatory levels from omega-6s to omega-3s. We want to look at peak progesterone. And we want to figure out what's going on. And that's really the way for us to do that. Now, if we didn't, I can just say, well, here's the thing. You're using a company that we're not necessarily recommending, so I can't give you advice on that specifically. The Faster Way program is a great exercise program, so no issues with that. However, if you're following certain diets, you might be getting a lack of fiber, and you might be getting more protein that your body can handle, which is causing you more constipation. I don't know if that's the issue. I don't know, because you very well may have candida overgrowth. You might have small intestinal bacterial overgrowth that are causing these issues as well. The organic acids test, which we call our candida metabolic and vitamins test, along with the bacteria and parasite stool test, which is back in stock now, can give you the answer to those, right? So it can absolutely give you the answer to that. And that's how we would best help you. Because right now I would simply say, well, if you're not going to run any labs, okay, then we need to do the CBO protocol. We need to be using our daily foundational protocol level 2. And we need to use the constipation protocol, which is what I recommend, right? So it's using the magnesium citrate at night and the advanced fiber support. That's a great one. And then in the morning, using a scoop of the alkalizing vitamin C. So there's a lot of tips in there. However you want to go about it, hopefully that's been helpful. Aaron's up next. Aaron's saying, what experience do you have with correcting vision? I have worn glasses for over 30 years and have a minor astigmatism. I've been debating on LASIK and recently came across a few people claiming they can correct vision naturally with longer lasting success. They're using a version of the Bates method and focusing on objects just beyond clarity and using slightly off prescription glasses. It sounds too good to be true, but then so does all the success of naturopathy. What diet, supplements, exercise, etc. do you recommend for improving vision? I've searched podcasts for correcting nearsightedness, LASIK, healing vision and eyes. All I found was HouseCall about omega-3s before LASIK and nothing specific to naturally improving vision. I appreciate all you do. Keep up the good fight. Thank you, Aaron. I want to let you know, so I'm going to give you the answer because I know that you put in the effort to search. But I've talked about actually, it's funny that it's called the Bates method. By the way, this is an Ayurvedic method. People used to, at sunrise and sunset, they would look at an object about, their arm distance length away from their finger. Let's say you put up your finger or your thumb. And then after looking at their finger or thumb, then they would look up towards the horizon line. And they would look at that. Then they would switch back to looking at their thumb. And then they would switch back to looking at the horizon line. So I can't break down the entire methodology for you right now, but if anyone wants to figure out how to do this to improve their vision, please look up Ayurvedic vision improvements or ways to improve vision naturally using Ayurvedic methods or the Bates method if you're saying that's the same thing. Okay, I've done also many podcasts on improving eyesight and vision. We talk about using a product called zeaxanthin and lutein. Okay, so you can check that out. You can simply go to stevencabral.com/podcast. Just type in zeaxanthin and type in lutein. Okay, next up, I also talked about omega-3s, and that's absolutely crucial. No doubt about it. But there's also reducing stress. There is capillary damage in the eyes due to inflammation and stress, especially calcification and floaters, because people are highly stressed and they're drawing calcium into their bloodstream. So there's also the de-stress part of it. Okay, now it's not that I'm against LASIK. I'm not against it. What I want to share with you is this. I actually haven't seen, but I haven't done also a ton of research on this. I was under the impression that LASIK doesn't necessarily work great for astigmatism. But again, this is not something I've looked into. So simply look up, because LASIK surgery can absolutely correct some forms of vision-based issues. Does it work with astigmatism? I don't know. So you'd have to look more into that. So Aaron, hopefully this was helpful. Shika is up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. I've learned a lot by listening to your podcast. I'm looking for a microwave substitute. What are your views on an oven toaster and portable mini ovens such as a Hot Logic and other? Do they have adverse side effects? Okay, so I don't know about the Hot Logic, but I can tell you about the mini ovens. So the mini ovens, what you're really dealing with are some EMFs, right? So tough to get away from EMFs, by the way, with anything that's plugged into a wall. So I just want to let you know that, right? Tough to get away from anything plugged into a wall. I would say a gas oven is definitely the best way for cooking, with a real flame. Then you get less of the EMFs. But there's still EMFs with an oven because your gas oven is still plugged into a wall. So unless you're literally starting the fire and cooking your food over it, there's going to be a little bit of give and take, right? So I don't really have a huge issue with mini ovens, like a toaster oven. I don't have a big issue with that, okay? The further the plug is away from your toaster oven, the better. So I can just share that with you. I don't know the Hot Logic, so I can't give you my best guess on that. I would definitely recommend a toaster oven over a microwave, that's for sure. It's a far more natural way to heat up your food. So hopefully this was helpful. I know it probably wasn't the exact answer you're looking for just because I'm not familiar with the product that you're talking about. But definitely recommend that over a microwave for sure. The other thing that you can do is, as you're getting ready in the morning, you can also heat up your foods, cook your foods in your oven at home, and then put them in a Yeti or another type of thermos-based container that will keep your food warm for 5 hours, 6 hours, sometimes even 8 hours. So that's a great way too, to cook it fresh, put it right in that container, and then you don't need to reheat it at work. So that could be really helpful as well. Okay, next up. And saying, is there something that can be done to reduce body hair for men, particularly back hair? Is there anything that can prevent excess hair at puberty? So, this is a good question. I don't think that I've answered it before, so happy to answer that right now. I know of nothing that would reduce body hair in men. So the amount of hair that a man is going to produce on their body is related to testosterone, and it's also related to your genetics. So in some families, you will see that men and women, or women, they produce and they have more body hair. So oftentimes, it's not with all, but the kapha body type can have a lot more body hair, and that includes back hair as well. Well, you don't get to change your constitution, right? Now, it's interesting because Pitta men can have high testosterone, but they typically have the least amount of body hair relative to Vata or Kapha-based body type. Again, can't change the constitution. So what you could say is, well, if I lower my testosterone, I could reduce body hair. And that's partially true, right? But not totally true, because as men hit their later 30s or 40s and definitely 50s, some men start to lose hair on the head and they actually gain hair on the back. And we say it falls off the head and lands and sticks to the back. Not ideal for most guys. Now, I'm sure some guys don't mind, and that's great. So here's the thing though, that's not from higher testosterone, but it could be from a higher testosterone to dihydrotestosterone conversion. So if there's anything we could do, it is to actually use natural products that would decrease dihydrotestosterone conversion for men, and I would not use them during puberty, but for men later in life. And there's a product called Advanced Prostate Support. You can find that at Equilibrium Nutrition. It contains pygeum extract, it contains saw palmetto, and a lot of other great natural herbs that can help with hair loss, hair growth, prostate issues, etc. So hopefully that helped, Dan. Kimberly says, will the rain barrel effect come out in audio form anytime soon? That's a great question. So I go back and forth. I could have it narrated by someone else other than myself, but it feels kind of weird to me to have someone else speak my book. So if I'm going to speak my book, I probably need to find, I would say, 30 hours to record. And I just don't have 30 hours. We just came out with a new course for the integrative health practitioner. I just started doing weekly videos, all free, to teach people about how to boost their immune system and on viruses. This fall, or beginning in January 2021, I will be debuting 2 new courses per month. I haven't even talked about this yet, but they're for the general public. They're for everybody who can't afford lab testing, who can't afford working with a private health coach. I'm always trying to level the playing field. That's my goal. My goal is to be a teacher. It's really all I've ever wanted to do in life, is to educate and teach what I found to work so great for so many hundreds of thousands of people, right? That's my goal. And so I'm trying to work on that. But again, a lot of people are asking me for the audio version of the rain barrel effect. So I'm kind of torn by that. It is actually a form of stress for me, because I know I should have done that from the very beginning. But it was this is a book that I started writing 5-6 years before I ever published it. And it was just time. I had to get that book out, even without the audio version. So Kimberly, you'll find maybe some satisfaction in that. I know that I have to do it, that I know I need to get it to you. I want it to be in my voice. And I'm actually not great at being able to just read from a page. When I read to my daughters at night, I'm skipping words. It's all over the place because it's not how I read. I read for content and knowledge, but I don't read to speak it out loud. And so that's why for me, reading questions, I move through them very quickly because that's how I read. In order for me to absorb and get through as much data and content that I want, I've talked about how I speed read, but that doesn't make me a very good reader to people out loud. So it would take me a little bit longer. That's a long-winded answer to say, I'm working on it. I want to do it. I know I need to do it. I'll get there. So thanks, Kimberly, for bringing it to my attention. Hold me accountable. All right, Pauline's up next. Dear Dr. Cabral, I recently learned of you and your amazing work, and I've already listened to many of your podcasts. They are so encouraging and helpful. Thank you, Pauline. Appreciate that. Number 1, I wondered if you are familiar with breast implant illness. What are your thoughts on this? I've had implants for 17 years. All right, so I've answered this before in the podcast, so I'll link that up for you, or I'll show you where that is. Number 2, I've also struggled with infertility. 10 years infertility, 16 IVFs, plus many fertility treatments. Perhaps at least 25 cycles in total during her injections. Let's see, also went into early menopause, about 43 years old. I'm on hormone replacement therapy. I'm 55 years old, in reasonably good health and shape. I follow a healthy lifestyle. Over the last 14 years, I've developed food allergies, sensitivities, allergic to benzoates, MSG, all sorts of different things, debilitating headaches, recurring sinus issues, infections, fatigue, low energy, impaired ability to focus and concentrate and sleep at night, getting worse each month. Recently ran some blood tests for iron and B12 and thyroid, and my GP tells me they're all normal. I've had antibiotics and cortisone over these years for sinus infections. My general practitioner recommends I go on a SSRI, which is for an antidepressant. Would like your thoughts and guidance. Thank you for sharing your own journey and wealth of wisdom with the world. You have given me hope. that I too can heal and transform. All right. So Pauline, first and foremost, don't give up hope. And no doubt in my mind that you can heal. There's no doubt in my mind because your story is not radically different from thousands of other women that I've spoken to in the past. So just know that. Like you're on your health journey. You're 55 years old. You said you're in reasonably good health and shape. Well, then that's good. That means if you're not overweight, if you've already done that part, now you're working on the wellness part. You then likely have, yes, some inflammatory issues, but not from adipose tissue, not from the weight gain. We can work on that. And again, how can I help you? The way that I can truly help you, because unless it's a specific question, it's, how do I get better? That's basically what people are asking, like, how do I get better? And what I tell people is this: we can help you get better. I can't give you that silver bullet, especially without running any labs. If I don't know if your sinus infections and your headaches are due to candida overgrowth, like it is for many people, or yeast and fungal overgrowth, I don't know if that's what we need to work on. I don't know if your low energy is from an imbalance in your hormone replacement therapy, but I would after running the hormone test. I also don't know if one of the reasons that you struggled with fertility for many years is because of higher levels of cortisol or estrogen dominance or a thyroid that is actually not very good, right? Your GP tells you that it's within range. Well, it could be a 4 for your TSH. Well, that's well out of range from optimal. And then also you've had implants for 17 years. And if you go to, let's head over there together right now. So let's go to, I'm going to do this in real time. StephenCabral.com/podcast. Scroll up from that little annoying drop down. And let's just type in breast implant. But we'll also look at explant because we've helped women work through this as well. Okay, breast implant was on 1472, 10072, 737, 485, 1079. Okay, so all of those are having to do with breast implants and the toxicity that can come along with implants as well. We've worked with a number of women and we did digestive protocols. We did mood-based protocols. And here's what it was. And this is not for every woman because I can only remember 2, okay? But for 2 women at least, 2 women, it's still 2 women and that matters, right? Because every single person matters in our practice. One woman had to remove her IUD, right? She was about 28 years old. I can remember specifically working with her 6 years ago. I remember her. We did everything. We ran the gut test and yes, there was overgrowth and we removed it. We ran a subsequent follow-up. We know it's gone. Still digestive issues. We looked at cortisol. It was okay. It was her IUD. We had to remove the IUD, okay? 4 months after removing the IUD, digestive went back to normal. Another woman in our practice, detoxes, did protocols, doing great, relapse, doing great, relapse. Well, what happened was she was detoxifying her body, helping her liver out, but she wasn't doing that every single day because you can't. What happened was the toxicity, the inflammation, the immune response to those implants was causing her to have all sorts of health-based conditions. She removed her implants about 5 months later, feeling much better. So again, I don't know if this is the case for you because it isn't for every woman. I've worked with many women who have implants and they're completely fine. So again, this is where bioindividuality comes into play and how your own immune system is reacting. Pauline, I hope that was helpful. We're here for you. Again, the best way I can help people, if you don't know where to start, if you don't have a specific question, I really believe running the Big 5 or at least run the labs based on your systems with Equilibrium Nutrition, equilibriumnutrition.com. You're going to get your lab reviewed by myself, our medical director, Dr. Jennifer. You're going to work with one of my trained health coaches. We're going to develop a personalized wellness plan for you, and we're going to start to work the plan, right? That's what it's going to be all about. Or join the private practice, like become a real private client of ours, and we'll walk you through those 3 calls. The initial intake, the going over of your labs and your personalized wellness plan, and then the follow-up to make sure that we're making adjustments as needed. So hopefully that's helpful. What I'd like to do, let's see, should I do one more? All right, let's do one more call. One more question. This one's from Dustin. Hi, Dr. Paul. I want to start by saying thank you for all you do. I have been a longtime listener and learned so much. My question is about water. I've heard you say how you squeeze lemon in the water and add a little natural sea salt makes it a little bit more alkaline and gives it a charge. My question is the water alkaline at that point, or does the body make it alkaline as it goes through our system? Secondly, what are your thoughts about structured water? There are devices, home filters that you can have that filter your water that mimic nature with natural, native EMFs, supposedly that restructure the water and bring it back to life. Have you looked at these? I know natural spring water is best way to go, but the closest one is 2 hours away from me. I'm wondering if structured water is the answer. I would love to hear your thoughts on these two things. Thanks again. All right. So, Dustin, I always let you know kind of where I'm at in my own research as well. So, first things first, easy to answer your question. Lemon, when you squeeze lemon into your mouth or into water, it's acidic at that stage. However, it is alkaline as it gets digested and moves through your system. By that, it means the enzymes and minerals allow you for more alkalinity. The easiest way to make water more alkaline is simply adding sea salt or minerals in general that make it electrolytes that make it more alkaline. That's an easy way to do it. But lemon is natural. It actually helps with digestion, the liver. And again, nothing changes the pH of your blood dramatically. It stays within tight parameters. However, what people forget about, what people often look and dismiss, is that the tissues can be either more acidic or more alkaline. Your digestive tract can be either more acidic or more alkaline. And we're talking about degrees of variation around 7.0. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful there. Yes, the sea salt is right away more alkaline. The lemon is going to be more acidic. There's no doubt about that, but more alkaline as it hits the body. So that's really what matters. Okay, structuring water. This is something I've yet to come up with my own definitive conclusion and recommendation on. It's why you don't see it on the Cabral concept yet, because I'm never going to give you anything that I'm not doing myself. However, just about 6 months ago, I started using a product called Somaveda. You can just go to, let's find it for you. Let's head on over to stevencabral.com/podcasts, and let's just type in SOMAVEDA, and let's see which podcast it was on. It was on none, apparently. Well, I know that I reviewed the Somaveda, so let's see where it was. All right, Somaveda, and I'm going to type it in and just make sure I'm spelling it correctly because, again, my typing leaves a lot to be desired often. And yes, of course, I was spelling it incorrectly. SOMAVEDIC. So it's on episode 1463. I'm telling you, everything is searchable there. Head on over to episode 1463 to see my review of the Somavedic, which I got it specifically to induce scalar waves into my office and my home, which then allows my DNA and my cells to pick up the scalar waves rather than the EMFs, right? So that's why I did it with 4G, 5G, etc. It's a beautiful device as well. So it's too costly just for a beautiful device, but it is beautiful. It glows green. The Soma Medic is the one that I have. But it works, right? So there's clinical patents on it. There's studies behind it. And another thing that it's been shown to do is actually structure water. So it's a great way to do those specific things. Again, I'm still doing my research on structured water. I'll recommend other things in the future if I find that. But I do keep my glass bottles of my Mountain Valley spring water right there. I'll keep other bottles of water right there beside it, about a foot away. And then I think they recommend actually 8 inches away. But also, believe it or not, taking your water, stirring it in a circle so that it creates a vortex, right? Kind of like a whirlpool in the middle. Then you add your sea salt and you add a little bit of that lime or lemon. That actually creates structure to the water or not, believe it or not. Just creating that vortex creates structured water again. So as good as something like the Somavedic or Somamedic? Probably not. But again, it's a pretty inexpensive way to at least get started. So hopefully that's been helpful. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning into the show. I will be back tomorrow with part 2 of our Cabral HouseCalls. Hope you're enjoying your weekend. If you're listening to this on the weekend, take care, be well. We'll talk soon. I want to sincerely thank you for your support of this podcast. I couldn't do it without you, and I mean that. I truly do. I also want to make sure you knew that we now have multiple ways for you to find your answers to the most difficult health, wellness, weight loss, and anti-aging questions. You can find podcast-specific topics like thyroid, adrenal, hormones, sleep, digestion, Ayurveda, and many more at stevencabral.com/podcasts that will then link you to your favorite Apple, Spotify, and other podcast players. Plus, all new podcasts and weekly exclusive video content is being added to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Stephen Cabral. And that's Stephen with a PH. Head on over and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the exclusive content. Lastly, if you've ever found any of my podcasts or books to be helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a review on iTunes or your favorite media player for the podcast. Rating and subscribing to the YouTube and podcast allow me to reach more and more people and help spread my mission of healing throughout the world. Thank you again for being a part of this movement.